Hello, everyone. Ian Patrick here. And as we get closer and closer to Christmas Day, I'm sure most of us are by now with our families, or we're getting ready to be with our families, getting on those planes, trains, and automobiles, getting home. But so it's a perfect time to watch, of course, a Christmas classic that has family values and family lessons in it. So some regard the movie I'm reviewing tonight not completely as a Christmas movie. However, there are Christmas themes. The first 30 minutes of the film has a lot of snow and Christmas in it. There is Christmas stuff in it, guys. Don't get me wrong. But tonight's review is Little Women, and it came out in 1949. It's my favorite version, and of course, it's based off Louisa May Alcott's novel that was based on her life as a child living with her sisters. It's sort of an autobiography by her, but I certainly classify it as a Christmas movie. I think this is the only time of year that I truly love to watch it, just because the first 30 minutes of the movie are beautiful with the snow and just wonderful to see at this time of year. So this version, it stars June Allyson, and she plays Jo, the tomboy, of course, and the story really revolves around Jo. And Peter Lawford plays LeRoy, the young man who is, of course, trying to win Jo's love over. And the other notable sisters in the story, Little Women, Elizabeth Taylor is in this film as one of June Allison's sisters, and also Janet Leigh is one of the sisters. She's the oldest sister. Don't attack me. I can never get all the names straight. I pretty much always just remember Jo. But and Mary Astor, she plays Marmee, the mother of the family. And I also want to mention C. Aubrey Smith, because C. Aubrey Smith, a great character actor, he had been acting for about 4 decades or so, and this would be his final film because he would pass away. He plays Laurie's father, or I believe grandfather, in the story. He was a wonderful character actor. So during the film, June Allyson, she was actually pregnant with Sheehan Dick Powell's son. You can't see it, of course. Her stomach doesn't have a bump, but it's just something interesting to note. And she was 32, playing a 15-year-old character in this movie. But honestly, the age differences, they don't really, I don't pay attention to them, because I still see Jo as being Jo, and I didn't even think, oh, she's supposed to be 15. But and actually, another fun fact is that Marmee, Mary Astor, she was only 11 years older than June Allyson in this movie, but she does look like her mother. She has that kind of motherly look to her. But the plot of Little Women is Jo is this young lady, and she loves living with her sisters and just having fun times with them. And it starts out at Christmas time. Christmas time is a wonderful time for families to be together, so she's having a wonderful time with her sisters, and she just hates the fact that she hates change. Basically, she doesn't want her sisters to be married off. She doesn't want them to fall in love, and she herself is just totally against the idea of falling in love. And she meets this young boy named LeRoy, played by Peter Lawford, and he doesn't really say right away that he's in love with her, but there's definitely some romance between them. And when you're watching it, you really hope that they fall in love and that they stick together. But Jo is just so against the idea of leaving her family and marriage. So that's pretty much the plot. I don't want to give the entire story away, of course, because I, of course, want you to see the film. It's one of my favorites. It's definitely a period costume drama, but it was a box office hit in 1949. It grossed over $800,000, guys. So it was a pretty much a success. I have some little stories about the film in one of Elizabeth Taylor's biographies, and she even said herself that she quote, "I liked playing the role of a young girl in love," and I'll get to probably why she liked playing this type of role at this time. Okay. So, Janet Leigh had this to say to start off about the movie. She observed that Mervyn LeRoy, the director, did a masterful job of direction. He understood that the problems of he understood the problems of working with four young ladies. You know, they giggle a lot and talk endlessly of their boyfriends. Elizabeth loved to jabber about Glenn Davis, her boyfriend at the time, even to the extent of reading aloud excerpts from his love letters. He was in Korea at the time. Believing in happy endings, Elizabeth had such high hopes that she magnified the importance of the romance. And June Allyson, as I mentioned, she was pregnant during the film with Dick Powell's child. They were married. She had this to say, June Allyson: "Elizabeth wanted to know how I enjoyed being married. Marriage seemed to be her favorite topic of conversation. In her desire to escape her parents' influence, she insisted that she and Glenn Davis intended to wed the minute he completed his tour of duty in Korea. I remember one day we were at the studio sitting around and talking, and Elizabeth glanced over at me and said, 'June, I would give anything to look like you.' Can you imagine the most beautiful young woman in the world saying that to me?" Mary Astor, the woman who played Marmee in the story, didn't have quite so pleasant memories of Elizabeth Taylor during this film. She said, "In one scene of the film, there was a snowstorm. In those days, they used cornflakes to simulate the effect of snow." Don't let that spoil the snow scene, guys. "The studio would dispense eye drops to anesthetize the eye. If a cornflake hit your eye, you wouldn't flinch or blink. Doing that at the wrong moment meant the entire scene had to be reshot." Elizabeth complained vehemently about the eye drops, practically comparing her lot in life to that of Oliver Twist. In addition, she spoke constantly on the telephone with her boyfriend in Korea, while the production clock mercilessly ticked away the company's money. "I had never before encountered such a brazen attitude on the part of a child actor. Nobody in the company dared utter a word about it to Elizabeth, despite her holding up the shooting schedule for weeks." So, Mary Astor didn't have quite as fond memories of Elizabeth during the film. But I do have a kind of a nice little picture of June Allyson, Elizabeth Taylor, and Janet Leigh at a diner, or just on set in the little cafeteria. You can see them. And of course, Elizabeth Taylor, she wore a strawberry blonde wig. That's not her real hair. Of course, we all know she was a brunette, not a blonde. But there's a little story in this book, too, that says something interesting. Let's see. The legend goes that whenever Liz walked into the cafeteria, not in this nightgown necessarily, but however garbed, a hush fell over her fellow movie folk as they watched this beauty make her way to the table. One day, a boisterous fellow shattered the quiet by bellowing with great humor, "How did she ever get into the movies?" So that's just a kind of a cool little story on set of Little Women. But anyways, that's going to be it for this review, everyone. Certainly watch this picture. It's wonderful to watch at Christmas time. It's great to watch any time of the year, but I think Christmas time is the best time to watch this great classic. Have a good night, everyone.